Mr. Pedro,
What's up, Spencer?
it's the first time we met in person.
That's right, buddy.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise.
I had a ton of fun the last 3 days. I laughed, I think, more than I've laughed in a long time.
It was like a comedic event for sure.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
We talked about, what did we talk about, dude? We talked about aliens came up at some point.
Oh, we've talked about all sorts of random stuff.
We talked about
some of it can't even be mentioned.
I was just going to say.
We'll get in big trouble.
Yeah, exactly. But, man, just event after event after event. And then we got to go a little bit of hiking, which was cool.
Yeah.
You know, get out, see Scottsdale a little bit. Shame we don't have more time here. I am curious what draws people here. I see a little bit, but I'm not 100% convinced.
I see a lot of dirt.
Yeah.
I was expecting luxury living to be luxury in Scottsdale, but
Yeah.
I just saw that the really wealthy people just have a little patch of grass that is slightly greener
Yeah.
than somebody's dirt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you're from Scottsdale, we're not hating on you. No, it was really cool. But honestly, it was a pleasure to meet you. We've been working together for 2 years.
Yeah.
Never met in person. And I'm just kind of curious, from your perspective, right? Like, you could hire marketing agencies. You could work with a lot of different people. What has your experience been like working with specifically a growth partner?
I mean, I can say that it's been super positive. Simply because a lot of times when you're working with an agency of some kind, they're only responsible or interested in delivering the one thing that you hire them for. In this case, you've been really interested in making sure that my business grows and develops, because ultimately we're going to be sharing some revenue at the end of this, right? So if it makes sense for you to kind of push me to get certain things done so that the company grows at a much faster rate. And like, let's be honest, like, I got into this social media game without knowing a thing. And it's been quite a learning for me. Like, I've learned a lot from you and everything that you've shared with me and just the strategies that you've put in place. And, you know, you give me context, so I'm not completely blind as to what's going on in my business. And now, like, I've developed a really good skill set for lead acquisition. I understand how ads work. I understand how to grab attention. You know, I understand how the business should operate, and I understand, like, you know, a lot more detail, the things that make these kind of businesses successful, which has been super positive as well.
Yeah, that's huge. You know, it's funny, as you were saying that, I realized a huge difference between agencies, because I used to have an agency, right? I had an agency for almost 7 years. And something that I realized right there is that one of the fundamental differences is that with a growth partnership, everything actually gets better, the better that everyone involved gets.
Yeah.
But in an agency, that's not the case, because in an agency, for example, if you're just running ads for someone and you're like, I did my job, we generate leads, that's it. Oh, your sales team sucks? Sorry.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, right, that ends up affecting everybody. Agencies just don't see it, right, until they get let go.
Right.
Because they're not converting deals. So an agency doesn't want you to know all of these things at the end of the day, right? Because then they lose their account. But in this case, when we're talking about the owner or a manager getting better, everyone gets better, everything gets better, your teams get better, the people get better, the results get better, and so it's exponential. It's two people going like this, two entities going like that, versus just, right, I got what I need, and it doesn't matter what you're getting over here.
No, you're right. Like, it's just it's been a complete change for me as well. Like, because I've come to realize that there's a lot of things I don't know, so I've taken an interest in learning. Like, one of the most recent things that I picked up is copywriting skills, and that's been super valuable as well. And that's only going to help accelerate what we're doing together with ads, what we're doing together with organic reach, and ultimately it's just going to convert in more sales.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's been cool, man.
Yeah, it's been fun for sure.
So I will ask you, you've made a lot of very uncomfortable investments through this process in 2 years, right? You've now had some mindset coaches, some woo-woo spiritual coaches.
Yeah, I've had sales training from multiple, trainers and agencies.
Yep.
I've had copywriting training, social media management training. It's all really produced amazing results, right? And, because of the training, I'm more open to implementing things that you as a growth partner suggest.
Yeah.
And that's been super valuable too, because I'm coming into it with from a place of vision now. So, my last consultant that I hired, I didn't even have to think about it. It was just like an instant, oh, here's your $2,500. Like, I don't have to think about it. Those kind of decisions before would have, I would have just thought it over and over and over again. I would have thought, oh, that's a lot of money. But I come to think of it, it's like, no, that one investment will give me one or two takeaways that's going to help me grow my business by $10,000 a month. That simple. So those kind of gains, like there's no reason to delay on investing things like that. Like this latest trip that we took, it's going to cost me several $1,000s to fly here, stay in an expensive hotel, get a car, eat, at nice restaurants. But guess what? All of these investments are going to really generate a lot more revenue. We just finished filming a video that is guaranteed going to go viral.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So super awesome. And that's going to bring me a lot of eyeballs. And over time, those eyeballs convert. So super happy about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's been cool to see you change over time too, man. I mean, how do you feel as a person now? Like business aside, the business has been cool, but you've changed a lot as a person. How do you feel about that part for yourself? Not anything to do with us, but just for you.
I feel very confident. I feel like, if something were to change for my business right now, I could just very easily start a new one, like without really thinking about it. Like I could become a consultant, or I can get into high ticket sales because I've learned how to do that, or, I can ghostwrite for somebody, but mostly like it's just giving me the skills that, any business owner really needs. And that's where it's really been helpful. Like it's just been a complete transformation from that side. I came into this as a 9-to-5 employee. And with all of the, systems of beliefs that a 9-to-5 employee has, especially beliefs about money. And the growth partnership that we have has changed everything for me. Like it's really made all of the difference. Like it's not even remotely close to what it's been in the past, right? Like I just didn't know what I was doing. Because of the growth partnership, like being in those constant meetings with you guys, just learning, I've been able to really grow this business, and I'm super thankful for it, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And out of curiosity, right? Like you said, you came for the 9-to-5 and you were doing the consulting on the side already. What would have happened, do you think, if you just stuck with the 1-to-1 kind of selling here and there?
It would have been a nice hobby. I would have probably gotten tired of creating constant social media for very little views and very little impact or very little conversion, like not selling enough. And I probably would have given it up. And I've seen people that started at around the same time as me, and they all gave up. I'm the last one standing, right? I'm one of the people that was able to take it seriously and take it to the next level, and I owe that to you.
Yeah, and the team, of course.
Yeah, of course, your team. You're a team.
So with that said, I'm curious. There's been good times. There's been bad times, right? Highs and lows as we've been dialing systems. They'll work, right? Something will happen inevitably because when you get something to work really well, it could break something else.
Yeah.
So what kind of kept you going through when you hit lower points in the business and you just had to kind of accept it was a cycle? Like, how did you actually get through that?
It's a combination of things, right? Like, one of them is hope for sure. Because like I knew I could make it work because I made it work before. So like you said, it was cycles. Like 1 month we went really high. I got over $100,000 a month in revenue, and then it dropped to almost zero, and then it climbed up again to 70, and then it would drop to 30. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but I've just come to realize that it is a cycle, and that we are incrementally getting better. Like our baseline volumes now, our baseline revenue is a lot higher than it's ever been. And I'm seeing more consistency, and I'm seeing better leads, and we're handling those leads better. And, we were mismanaging a lot of leads before, and now they're getting handled correctly. So, over time, more and more will convert. And, it's really because I understand the business now that I'm able to just be more at peace with it, and I know that every action that we take to steer the ship in the right direction is going to bring more and more stability to the business.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
That's some really good advice, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone just thinks that a business, especially when you're spending money on ads and you have a sales team, I think that there's a lot of people that think that that business just climbs, right, exponentially just into the future.
No, I mean, sales reps leave, sales reps have bad days, bad weeks. You need to kind of constantly be monitoring, seeing what's going on. You got to take some of those calls yourself to get the baseline to understand what's actually doable in the space. You know, if the ads aren't working, you got to get into that and understand what's driving it. You know, maybe you need to change them up a little bit. I've learned so many things, like even just like a tiny change in the VSL can have a huge impact, right? Yeah. Version 1 versus version 2, you always have to be testing different things. And when something's working really well, don't try to change it. I've also learned that, you know, just kind of stick to what's working and go from there, right? You can add different layers to it and see if it improves or if it maintains, you know, at the same level, or if it decreases. But then you can make like database decisions based on what you're seeing. You got to be objective.
Yeah.
What's one of the biggest things that I've learned is just because I think something is good doesn't make it so. The data needs to tell you what it is.
That's so true. Yeah, something that you said there that I really like is the conversation around ads. Okay, ads are a hot topic in general because everyone believes that advertising is good in general. Marketing is good, right? I need to market myself and what I do. The interesting part is that, and you've experienced this, is that when you are only spending money on ads and you don't have other things to kind of fill in.
Oh, yes.
What happens? Like before you were doing the organic side of things and ads are fluctuating, it's like a emotional roller coaster, right?
Yeah, because you can spend a lot of money on ads and not convert any. And all of a sudden you've just burnt away your life savings, and it can go very quickly. But if you have systems in the back end to kind of like keep people warm and framed so that they come into sales calls knowing who you are, what you do, you're not having to try to sell so hard. People are just coming into it very warm and open into buying from you because they feel like they've known you for a really long time. So like one of the things that we developed over time was time on content, right? And then we're trying to drive people to kind of really understand what we do, and we do that by providing value. So if you're starting a business and you're just relying strictly on ads, that's not the way to go. Because if the ads get shut down at any time, you know, because Facebook decides that it's time for your ads to go down, or they want to review something, then your business is in a lot of trouble, right? So we've diversified now, and we've got several different ways of getting clients. Webinars, we have different platforms now, we have long form content, we have short form content, and we have ads. So now we have a more complete package for lead acquisition and customer acquisition in general. Whereas, you know, before when we were just starting out, we just had one. Before I met you guys, all I had was organic content, and my content sucked. It wasn't very good. You know why? Because I didn't have anyone kind of guiding me through, telling me what needs to happen, what a proper hook is, what a proper body is, how to test things. Like I had no idea. I was just trying to wing it. And in 2025, you can't wing anything. There's just too many competitors, and there's too many seasoned people that are willing to invest in themselves and their business. So that's the kind of thing that you have to think about. Like, so if you want to get ahead in your business or any business in general, I strongly recommend a growth partner.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I mean, it's good there's other people who are growth partners out there. So it's good for us because we all talk. I got a lot of friends who are growth partners as well. And we prefer the model over like an agency model because we truly believe it's better for everybody involved. Everybody wins at a better level and a bigger level. And yeah, it's very interesting. One more thing that you mentioned right there is the aspect of, number one, volatility, right? When ads are working or not working and you have leads, there was 2 months, I think, in particular, where we came off some really big months. And I think we spent, how much was it? You said it earlier. And it essentially turned out no revenue.
We were spending $60,000 a month.
Yeah. And that essentially turned into zero revenue almost for the following 2 months.
Yes.
So we had put out a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Right? And this is with sales guys and everything else.
Yeah, with payroll and everything.
Yeah. And then that turned into nothing. And then what happened for you in that moment? What were you thinking?
Well, I mean, everything was just kind of collapsing, right? Because like worked so hard to put something together, and I was dipping into money that, you know, was coming in from my other business to try to make this grow, and there was a lot of uncertainty, right? But there was a strong course correction there. Like we dropped the amount of ads that we were spending. We started working on longer form content and pre-framing, and we just got better at sales. So once we got better at sales, like leads were being handled more effectively, and we were able to close the deals that were coming in with a lower ad spend, which made us very profitable very quickly. I think the return on advertising spend is like between 6 and 9 times what we're putting into it right now, which is pretty amazing. And now we're multi-channel, right? So we're not only on one platform, we're on another platform. And I think last week we did 26K in organic sales just in one channel, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
So how much, like, what's the most amount of money that you've spent specifically with SGP? Like, what was that biggest ticket amount that you've spent with us?
It was $50,000 for a one-time 90-day engagement that we called the Sprint. And it was really to put a series of systems in place to help the business have the structure that it needed in order to support more customers coming in the pipeline. So that was the biggest amount of money I've ever spent on anything, and I did it just because I saw the results that we had with, the very beginning of our journey and how things were going, and I just wanted to make sure that we had everything in place so that everything just flowed and that nothing would break. So, we were attracting leads, we were converting leads, and we were scaling the business. So we needed to have all three things in place to deliver that fulfillment that we needed in order for this to be successful.
Yeah. And 2 years later, how much total revenue have we turned out so far?
I believe it's like 1.6 million.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
So would you say that 50 grand at that point in time was worth it?
Absolutely, man. Like it would have been worth more, right? Like in retrospect, like at the time when you're making that decision, it's going to seem like the hardest thing for you to do. But you have to do like an identity shift. Like you got to remember, okay, you are in version 1.0, okay? And how would somebody that's doing $1.6 million in revenue think? And those are the actions that you need to take. And the person that is making that much money isn't trying to cheap out on like putting in things that are going to help the business grow. And that's kind of the frame that I took from this. And I wouldn't have learned that, I kind of warmed up to it by investing in myself in a whole bunch of other areas, like you mentioned, like mindset and, copywriting and video editing. Like every little action that I took led me down the path to be the person that I needed to be to go and drop $50,000 on a consulting engagement, right? Which is, if you had asked me that a few years ago, I would have been like, no, that's impossible. That's never going to happen. So
yeah,
just goes to show.
It's been cool. Like I said, we've gotten to see you change over time, and you've literally leveled up as a human so many times. And one really important thing that we try to get more people to see is how important copywriting is. Because I think people, they hear copywriting, they see copywriting, and they start to think, I got to sit down and write emails or something every day. But that's not really copywriting. Copywriting means many things. But what has copywriting done specifically for you?
So I think copywriting should really be the base for anyone that wants to start a personal brand and that wants to get into selling anything, because it dives deep into the psychology of your target audience, and it teaches you, hooks, bodies, and, rehooks in order to capture people's attention. And attention is everything nowadays. Nothing else really matters. Attention is what's going to get you leads. Attention is when it's going to get you the trust that you need from the clients that you're attracting. And if you don't have people's attention, like you won't really have any revenue. And the way to catch it is through copywriting. And copywriting can be applied to a whole bunch of different things, right? It could be applied to your scripting for your social media. It could be applied to your professional profile. It could be applied to your website. It can be applied to anything that you put into your ads. And it's super important. And it's probably the most underestimated skill that, is out there when it comes to making money online. Like it really changed everything for me. I've just gotten into it a few months ago. I'm 6 months into a program. I finished that program, and now I have like a one-on-one mentor that's teaching me how to write better And I'm hoping to take it to the next level so that everything that I put out is going to be like very well received by my target audience.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Like I can say from the outside looking in, because we've worked with over 50 brands at this time, which is pretty cool. You know, that's been roughly the last 5.5, 6 years. And the best brands that we have worked with, hands down, are the ones that have a dedicated copywriter. Okay, if we're talking multi-person teams, a dedicated copywriter, somebody obviously to run the ads, which typically they'll have someone on their team and we're just coming in and consulting them. And if they don't, then we're doing that. But always, 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 one of the pillars is a copywriter.
Yeah.
And if it's a smaller brand, then typically the owner or somebody close to the owner is the copywriter, because it affects every single thing that is touched.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Because if we can run the best ads in the world, you could get to a sales process, you can get to another page, you can get to an email later in the process. And if that copy's all jacked up, those ads may not even work.
It just needs to be so clear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it needs to be so clear what it is that the person's going to get out of it. It needs to be very clear what, you know, could happen if they don't act on it. It needs to be very clear what they get when they sign up. All of these things matter, every single one of them. But, you know, if you don't have a good hook to catch their attention to begin with, it's for nothing. Like it comes down to the first 3 seconds or the first sentence of everything you put down. And you can only really get that through proper training.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Pedro.
All right, man.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise, Spencer.
Yeah. We need to get you some water.
Let's do it.